In this video, I'm going to show you how I turned my outdated basement room into my ultimate all-black dream desk setup from start to finish. So grab your favorite drink, kick back, and enjoy the journey. Links to everything you see will be in the description below, and if setups and tech are your thing, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Now, let's get right into it. Alright, so here's what the basement looked like before. This was a fun entertainment space when we first moved in. There was a pool table, a bar area, and plenty of 80s wood paneling. Like, a lot of it. And don't forget those yellow ceiling lights, and the orange tile floor that caused a ton of echo. While it's a fun space, it wasn't getting much use anymore, and it definitely didn't fit the aesthetic I wanted for my office. So yeah, it was time for a change. The first step was clearing out the space and prepping for the renovations. This room had an excessive amount of wood, and it was time for it to go. So I grabbed a pry bar and started removing all the wood trim and baseboards. Next, I took a trip to Home Depot to gather the supplies for the renovation. My dad, who's an experienced contractor, came up with a plan to drywall right over the wood paneling, so that we didn't have to mess with the exterior walls of the basement. This was the easiest and cleanest way for us to go. Once we had all the materials, it was time to get to work. We measured the panels, making sure to be careful to mark and cut holes for the outlets using an oscillating tool. Then we would hang the sheets up by applying liquid nail to the drywall. Followed by nailing them into place with a nail gun. A quick tip, most walls aren't perfectly straight, and the wood panels definitely weren't, so we used a scribe tool and a level to get accurate cuts where needed, especially in the corners. After getting the drywall up, we hired a pro to handle the mudding and sanding. Both my dad and I aren't huge fans of doing that part, so we brought in someone who does it for a living. He was able to finish the whole thing in just 2 days, which saved me a ton of time and effort. This cost me $500, but it was definitely money well spent. Next up was the part I was dreading the most, painting. But I wanted to save money, so I did it myself. First, I started with the primer, and my wife was willing to help me out a bit here. We ended up doing 3 coats of primer on the walls, which took a very, very long time. And since I apparently enjoy neck paint, I also did 3 coats of primer on the ceiling, which also took a very, very long time. Now, because I'm going for a dark mode, all black desk setup, I painted the main walls this deep dark gray color. While I was at it, I also painted some wood slat panels that I picked up from Home Depot with the same color. I was going to use these slats to give my accent wall some texture. The rest of the walls were painted in a lighter gray to keep the space monochromatic. I ended up doing 2 coats of paint for the color. Once the painting was done, I hired someone to install thick, charcoal-colored carpet over the old orange tile. This not only fit the color scheme I was going for, but it completely got rid of the echo in the room. Plus, it made the space more cozy. After the carpet was in, I couldn't stand the yellow lights anymore, so I swapped them out for some Gobi light bulbs, which would let me control the color and temperature. They can go from bright white to any RGB color I choose. One thing I learned though, these bulbs don't work well with dimmable switches, and tend to flicker. so I had to switch those out later too. But you don't lose the dimming feature, since you can do that in the Govee app. The final part of my main renovation was putting up the slat walls. This was going to be the main accent wall behind the desk setup. We followed the same process as we did for the drywall, making sure our cuts were precise and everything fit perfectly. We ended up using 2 of these slat panels in total, and again, I love how cheap they were, costing only $50 each. After the slats were up, the room really started to come together. It gave the space that modern, textured look I was going for. And the dark gray color I painted them would keep everything cohesive with the rest of the design I had planned. Now let's get into the foundation of the desk setup, the desk itself. I wanted something custom and unique, so I chose the angled wall for the main setup. This allowed me to create a desk that looks like it's going through the wall, matching the angles of the corners. For this, I was going to need a long desk. So I went to Floor & Decor and picked up a massive 12-foot long red oak butcher block for $300. My dad suggested making some templates for the angled cuts using a protractor and some project board. He made sure to measure at the exact height of where the desk would be. Again, always double check your measurements because you can't trust the walls will be perfectly straight. We then placed the templates on the butcher block, so we could make the outlines of the angles at the ends. Next, we used a circular saw to cut through this thick butcher block and make the angled cuts. We ended up using the entire 12 feet for the outer edge, and the inner edge of the desktop came in at just over 7 feet. This thing was huge, and not to mention really heavy. After making the cuts, I sanded the entire surface to smooth it out, especially the edges, making sure to clean the dust off the surface before moving on to the next step. I applied 3 coats of polyurethane to seal and protect the wood, and I made sure to sand lightly with higher grits in between each coat to get a smooth finish. I needed this finish to be smooth to ensure this next step would work as planned. So this is the part where I had a crazy fun idea. I wanted the option to resand and stain the butcher block in the future just in case I changed my mind about the aesthetic later on, but I also wanted an all-black themed desk. So I decided to wrap the entire desk in a carbon fiber vinyl. I ordered a 10-foot long carbon fiber vinyl wrap from Amazon and called up a best friend who has experience wrapping car parts. The process was actually easier than I thought, and the wrap was actually pretty affordable at around $80. We started with the top surface and slowly worked our way down the desk. I recommend you do this with a second person to ensure you don't create a lot of air bubbles to deal with while also keeping it straight. The wrap I ordered was also a good deal since it came with almost all the tools needed for the job. The main ones being a squeegee to smooth things out and a knife to cut the wrap with. But one of the most important ones was a heat gun that we would use to remove the air bubbles with and to help the wrap conform to the edges. To remove the air bubbles, all you have to do is use a little needle to poke the air bubble and then apply a little bit of heat to make it disappear, making sure to do it lightly so you don't burn the wrap. Next, we pulled the wrap down the sides and underneath, again, working our way slowly along the desk. It took a bit of time, but the result was absolutely worth it. On the end of the desk, we needed a couple more feet of leftover wrap to finish it off. Next time, I would confirm the exact size I needed before ordering it to avoid this problem. But I was still extremely happy with the result. Once the wrap was complete, we brought the desk down to the basement and attached these black metal legs I found on Facebook Marketplace. Originally, I planned to attach it to the wall, but the desk was way too heavy and I didn't want to risk it. So these desk legs will do just fine. Now that it was in place against the slat wall, I can confidently say that going with the all-black, dark mode aesthetic was 100% the right call. It looked modern and sleek as hell. With the desk now complete, it was time to bring it to life with some initial accessories. I started with these 6-foot Govee neon rope lights. They're super flexible and gave me the perfect diffuse glow I was looking for. It was very easy to install the first one along the back of the desk using the included channel tabs. You just stick them on and hold them in place for a little bit with some force, then run the light rope through them. If you need some extra hold, they also have some screw holes you can use. Next up, I brought in my brand new Aor's 49-inch OLED ultra-wide monitor that I purchased just for this setup, which would help me figure out the rough layout of my desk. I've been wanting an ultra-wide for a while and felt it was time to treat myself by spending a bit of the budget on it. Since the desk was going to be really long, I wanted it to serve two purposes. One side for my remote work, gaming, and content creation, and the other side as a place to organize my most used tools, a space to do unboxings and product showcases, and to tinker and build things, like Gundams. To visually divide the space, I installed another neon rope light vertically between the slats. They actually fit perfectly between them, which was awesome. Next, I wanted to mount some metal pegboards on the right side for organization, so I roughly laid them out to figure out where they would go and how many I would need. I settled on 4 of them. We went ahead and installed them using a level to make sure everything came out perfect. What was cool about them was that you can order them alone or in sets, and one of the sets came with all kinds of accessories, including shelves, dividers, hooks, and bins, making them super customizable and modular. I'll refine these further once the full setup is complete and I get a feel for how I'll be using the space. They're also metal, so you could throw anything magnetic onto them, which adds another layer of functionality. With the pegboards in place, I grabbed a black cutting mat to put down right in front of them. It'll protect the carbon fiber wrap while also giving me a clean surface to work on. Next, I wanted to add a little more lighting, so I picked up these affordable light bars from Gobi. They come with both vertical and horizontal bases, so you can place them in different positions. I'm going to be using them for some cool accent lighting, but they also double as extra lighting I can use for the products I unbox, showcase, and build. And now we move on to one of my favorite purchases for this setup, the Edifier QR65 monitor speakers. There are very few products that I see and feel like they look so cool that I instantly have to have them. These are not just any speakers. They have this futuristic design with RGB LED infinity mirrors and lighting effects that you can control via an app. The sound quality is high as you'd expect from Edifier, but the aesthetics really take them to the next level. They look insane next to my 49-inch OLED monitor. But there was one issue. I wasn't digging the large monitor stand that came with it. It was taking up way too much desk space, so I needed to fix that. That's where this MSI MPG MT201R monitor arm comes in. I found it on Amazon, and what really caught my eye was the mech-style design and the built-in RGB lighting. It's solidly built with a wide base clamp for sturdiness, so I felt safe using it. The arm has a great range of motion and it can support the weight of my ultra-wide monitor, which is lighter than most standard monitors thanks to it being an OLED. And the RGB lighting is just a nice touch, making it so you can switch between solid colors and lighting effects by just pressing the button on the base. I then decided I needed a little more accent lighting to break up the slats. So, I put up these nano leaf lines. But since they came in white, I did my new favorite trick and wrapped them in carbon fiber. It was now time to put the rest of the setup together. To start things off, my friends over at Raico sent me over their desk shelf system and some of their most popular accessories. They specialize in Scandinavian functionality fused with Japanese minimalism. And you can tell with their products. Starting off with their large 45.7-inch desk shelf in black hardwood. The finish on it feels and looks very premium with its natural wood grain. This is going to do a great job of reducing clutter and keeping a lot of my key accessories neatly in place. It comes with an optional industrial-grade aluminum shelf that's lined with a merino wool felt to avoid scratching anything you put on it. You can also choose not to use the shelf like I did for my setup. They leave it up to you to configure it how you'd like. They also sent me their desk tray drawer in black to match the shelf. It's designed to fit perfectly with their desk shelf. The materials will also match it, but the inside is made of a soft natural cork. It features 4 different sections designed to hold your most used items at your desk. To match the dark mode aesthetic, they sent me a couple more black accessories. Their headphone stand and dual slot vertical laptop stand, also in their blackwood finish. The headphone stand includes industrial grade steel rods with a hand sanded curved wood headband rest for you to place your favorite pair of headphones on. On the bottom is a similarly carved wood tray that can house any of your everyday carry items. And their dual vertical laptop stand is made with the same premium craftsmanship as everything else. It can house 2 laptops or a laptop and a tablet without scratching them, since the inner slots are also lined with the same merino felt wool as their shelves. If you're interested, links to their products down below. And now, after the desk shelf and headphone stand, we continue to piece together the setup, bit by bit. The next key thing I needed in my desk setup was a proper webcam. That's when Osbot stepped in and sent me their latest webcam, the Osbot Tiny 2 Lite. I was excited to try it out because this little gadget promises some serious upgrades. The Osbot Tiny 2 Lite comes in at $179, and it's positioned as a more budget-friendly version of last year's Osbot Tiny 2. It packs in some impressive features for the price, including 4K video quality thanks to its large half-inch sensor, which means it performs incredibly well even in low light. And just check out this autofocus. Now, one of my favorite things about this webcam is its AI-powered auto tracking and auto zoom. It even has 2 different tracking modes, standard and motion mode. So whether you're sitting still or moving, you're always in focus and centered. Plus, with Gesture Control 2.0, you can control it with your hands. Put your hand up and open it to have it lock onto you or to unlock. Zoom in and out by making a simple L shape with your hand. Or use both hands to do it dynamically. And get this, the Tiny 2 Lite also has preset modes where you can pre-program things like camera angles, background blur, and lots of other image settings. As for the sound quality, the dual omnidirectional microphones on this webcam offer noise cancellation that's customizable. And if you're into streaming on platforms like TikTok, Twitch, or Kick, the Tiny 2 Lite has you covered by offering landscape, portrait, and even upside-down shooting modes. On top of all that, there's also a beauty mode built into the Osbot software that helps smooth your skin and brighten your eyes, plus many of other flattering filters. And when you're ready for some privacy, you can activate sleep mode right in the software, or you can even schedule it to automatically go to sleep when you're not using it. If you're looking for a webcam that can seriously upgrade your video calls, streaming, or content creation, definitely check this one out. Huge thanks to Osbot for sending this over. Now, it's time to finish the right side of my setup. I made sure to try and make the space as functional as possible while also throwing in some fun collectibles throughout. And again, I just love using magnetic accessories with these metal pegboards. It's a great way to add functionality and aesthetics to your space. What do you guys think of the setup so far? Any suggestions? Let me know in the comments below. And now that my new all-black desk setup is complete and operational, expect a full deep dive tour of it and all of its accessories coming soon. So make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss it. And if you want to see my first desk setup, check out this next video here.